Well, folks, if you have small children in the room and you don't want them to find out the truth about old Saint Nick, Santa Claus, then you want to remove them from the room right now, because this video is going to be talking completely honestly about this topic and why I think that it's a bad idea to teach kids this complete nonsense, in my opinion. Again, you raise your kids the way you want to raise your kids. But to me, teaching kids about Santa Claus and flying reindeer and sleds and the North Pole and elves making toys is ridiculous, and it should not be done. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, yours might differ. When I was raised up, I was never taught that Santa Claus came down to the chimney and brought presents. For two reasons, actually. Number one is that I was taught about the true meaning of Christmas, and that's the birth of Jesus Christ. That's the whole reason for the season. But the powers that be has manipulated this and changed it away from the birth of Jesus Christ to a fat man in a red suit with a big beard that flies around in a sleigh being pulled by reindeer from the North Pole, and he slides down to the chimney and leaves presents for the little children if they're good. I mean, that takes the whole meaning of Christmas away, and I think that was part of it, because they wanted to divert the attention away from what it's actually about, the birth of Jesus Christ. And I wasn't taught about Santa Claus. I wasn't taught that all, because I was taught the truth, and my mom wanted me to know the truth about Christmas and what it was all about. And number two is that I was raised up extremely poor, and we didn't have Christmas trees. There was never a Christmas tree put up in my house. Never had presents under a tree. I can't remember a present even wrapped. If we got anything for Christmas, it was a Christmas dinner, and was lucky to get that, because a lot of times we were living in tents and cars and things like that, extremely poor. So there wasn't any presents coming along. But I'm 7 years older than my little brother, and he's actually, a grown man now and got 5 kids, so that's a completely different story. At the time, he was little. Like I said, 7 years older than he is. And he was, I can't remember how old he was, but he was just really, really young. And he hadn't been taught this yet. He hadn't figured this out yet, because I guess that my mom didn't think that it was important at his age, because she didn't think he would put this all together. But he was listening to the TV. We was in a house then, and he was listening to the nightly news, and he was playing with his toys and things, but he's still paying attention to what was being said, like kids do. And they were talking about that if you're good little boys and girls, you'll wake up in the morning, it's Christmas Eve, and Santa will have brought you presents, or something to that effect. The next morning, he woke up and he was remembering that, and he got up, and he was really, really sad, because he didn't have any presents. And he thought that he had been bad, because Santa didn't bring him any presents, because people in the news media said that Santa would bring presents and toys if he was a good kid all year. So he thought he had been bad, and he was really, really, really sad, I remember, about that at his age, because he was devastated. He was completely devastated. But I don't think it's a good idea. Like I said, you do you, boo. If you want to teach your kids about this, Santa Claus, Saint Nick, all this bunch of stuff, you can. That's up to you. But this article here, I saw this, and that's what I was reading here, and I started thinking about how I never was brought up to believe in Santa Claus, and how I'm glad that I wasn't. I'm glad I was told the truth about this when I was little. And this guy here, not even going to read this here, because he's comparing Santa Claus to God, and he's pretty much talking about that neither one exists, in his opinion. And here he's talking about, parents teaching their kids about Santa Claus. It says we all do it, of course. No, we all don't. Some parents don't teach kids about Santa Claus. They tell the kids the truth, that it's about the birth of Jesus Christ. But they've made it about Santa Claus. They've made it about consumerism and spending money on presents and things like that. We all do it, of course. No, we don't, of course. Our culture, culture, our culture expects parents basically to lie to our children that their presents were left by a jolly fat man who flies in a sleigh pulled by reindeer through the sky. And so, of course, one might ask, is it okay? We all surely want our children to grow up to be honest people. Shouldn't we set a good example as far as possible by telling them the truth? To which I would say, well, no. So he's saying we should lie to our kids and tell them a bunch of fake-ass bullshit about Santa Claus and elves and things, and not the true meaning of Christmas. We shouldn't be honest about Santa, at least not at first. Is it morally okay to the point of being actively morally good for parents to participate in the grand Santa lie? And, of course, now through here he's talking about he agrees with lying to kids pretty much about all this. And to me, it's been ridiculous. I have dated women that their kids believed in Santa Claus more than anything else. And I couldn't tell them because it wasn't my place to, because I wasn't the parent. I was just, seeing their mom and dating their mom. So I kept my mouth shut. They would talk about Santa. Woo, Santa gonna bring presents and things. And they really believed deep down. And because they've been taught that. And, a lot of people will say that you don't want to let those kids down. If you teach those kids the truth from the start, they're not going to be let down. Because they're not going to believe, a bunch of stuff like that isn't true. If you teach the kids the true meaning of Christmas, they're not going to be let down because they're going to know. Now, if you take, a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old that still believes in Santa Claus, and you tell them the truth, they're going to be devastated because they've been lied to, all their life, and they've been fed this fairy tale all their life to believe in Santa Claus, and that Santa Claus is going to bring them presents. And the thing about it is, a lot of Christians do this too. They teach their kids about Santa Claus and not the true meaning of Christmas. Or they will combine, the two. The birth of Jesus Christ plus Santa Claus. They will combine the two or just go with, the Santa narrative. Christians, just like a church that's not far from where I live at. A few Halloweens ago, they was having a Halloween party at the church. Okay, Halloween party dressed up as demons and warlocks and witches at the church. How could that possibly be a conflict of interest there? I mean, really. I don't know. It is crazy to me the things people teach their children. And to me, I want to be honest, and I always have been honest with kids. My ex-wife, I told her son the truth about Santa, and he wasn't disappointed. He was about 7 years old, actually, I think that it was. And she got mad that I had told him, but I didn't want to see him believing, the lies about this. And I wanted him to know the truth, especially at 7 years old. But he had been fed this bunch of bullshit for all of his life, so he really believed it. But when I told him, he was like, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And he wasn't disheartened at all. But some kids would be. But I told him the truth about Santa Claus, and when I told him, he wasn't really disappointed. I think he was actually kind of figuring it out already anyway, and I think he was kind of relieved that I told him the truth. I didn't bullshit him. And, kids appreciate the truth. They really do. If the parent spends years lying to a kid about this, and the kid finds out they've been lying to me this whole time, how's the kid going to feel about his parents' honesty? I mean, really think about it. Anyway, like I said, it's up to you all. What you do with your own children, it's none of my business. But this is just the way I feel personally about this. Anyway, if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully.